Hey everybody, welcome back to Breakfast with Bobby. And I'm here with my good friend Bobby, who is just back from a retreat out west in Sedona with Marcus Casanich.
Yes.
Never sure I'm saying his name right. But before I hand it over to Bobby, who has a lot to say today, I am just going to remind everyone, if you are in the southwestern or southern Wisconsin area anywhere, or northern Illinois, on July 20th, we will be having a Moonbow Metaphysical Expo, and afterwards, we will be having a paranormal investigation. So you can find all of that information in the events on my Facebook page. So I just want to put that out there because we have Sam Bultrussis, which is another fun name to remember how to say, coming from Massachusetts. And he has been on several TV shows, written, I think at this point, 15 books. It's like between 13 and 15, I think. But he's a really cool guy, and he has agreed to come out and join us for this. So he will be doing private readings during the day, and then he and I and some other people will be doing an investigation in the evening in the same building at Broadhead Manor. All right, now I'm going to pass it over to you.
Well, good morning, everyone. Christina, first let me comment on um, your next adventure there, what you were just talking about. That sounds really exciting. It's so much fun to have people at your shows and in places where you're working with them, colleagues and stuff, and you become part of the family. And different people have different stuff to offer. And
Right.
part of what I was going to talk about today was as you mentioned, I just got back from a 5-day retreat out in Sedona with Marcus, and over time, I've learned a lot of stuff, a lot of information about him. I'm always studying uh, people and their practices and stuff. And Marcus introduced us to me um, to sadhana a few months ago. We had a weekend retreat at a place in Milwaukee. And we did a lot of chanting, which, I was never a fan of chanting until then. And we were chanting some songs that, of course, mean something in the language that they speak in. And it was kind of a miracle stuff, but your whole body buzzes after you're done and you sit in silence. But anyway, Marcus introduced us this weekend. There were only 6 of us, a very eclectic group, some older, some younger, uh, from all around the country. Uh, his wife, Samji, is um, is a yoga. She's a Kundalini yoga instructor, and she did a lot of what we did and introducing us to all of that. People talk a lot, uh, very frequently about the Kundalini awakening,
Hmm.
and most people don't really understand what that is.
Right.
So, and I think Marcus at one point at his first show with us, he may have mentioned the Kundalini, where, it's the snake that goes up the
Yep.
spine and it activates an energy center. So we were in practice. We started Friday. Friday we did from noon until 5 in the afternoon, and it was more of an introduction to the Kundalini stuff. Very basic exercises, very routine stuff that a lot of people do in yoga.
Hmm.
But the structure of it and the repetition and the strength of the movements, how they affect your body is really what it's all about. So we've become quite close with Samji. She was a fabulous teacher, and I know I've heard Marcus talk in his presentations and his retreats and stuff about his wife and how you know, Samji is a goddess, and he will be the first one to tell you that. And she is just incredible. She has this presence to her. And so she initiated us to, like I said, very basic practices, cat cow, but it was the sequence of how we went about doing it and the thrust and the repetitions and the speed in which we were doing all of that, and then took a rest. So the majority of the time we were on the floor, sitting in the, position with our legs, in a comfortable position of how we could do that. The next thing that we learned was in one of the days, he taught us again how to do Kriya, which is the practice of saying um, prayers in your head, but in addition to that, it's really the energy that's moving up and down your spine, and that's the only thing that you focus on. So he often tells us about his experience in India of how he was initiated to Kriya, and that's the only thing that you do. You focus on the bottom of your spine, and you're breathing in, and you're bringing the energy all the way up to the top of your spine and then back. So it's a very concentrated exercise that takes a lot of focus to bring that energy up. So, and I've been doing this practice for a while, since last October or so. The beads that he gave us as a gift were something that we are able to use. There's 108 beads on each one of the malas. They're called japa mala beads. And so you know that you've gone one round of that when you've done them 108 times. And that is the only thing that you focus on, nothing else. So when your attention veers off of that practice, then you refocus yourself and come back. But the interesting thing about that is in one of the practices that we did the next day, we did an exercise where you lay on the floor, and there's a name for it. And as soon as it comes to my head, because it has left me, the breathing accelerates, you getting out of your head and stuff. So after we did all of that, a pranayama healing, it was called. So he and Samji initiated all of that with just 6 of us laying on the floor and some music and bowls, singing bowls and healing instruments and elements. It was so powerful. By the time I was done, it was the very first time that I actually felt my entire spine, all of that warm energy going all the way up and all the way down. And it gave me the chills. And it's so powerful that once you are initiated to all of that, you really just want to keep doing it because it changes who you are. You know, you are able to release all of stuff that really bothers you that you've been carrying around for a long time. And 90% of the time, you don't even have a clue what you're releasing. It just little pictures come to your head and you're going through this breathing exercise, and they will come around and help you with your posture, or they will help you release things and put their hands on you. I remember the very first time Marcus, I did a pranayama with him. Apparently, I was not releasing things as quickly as I should have, or probably breathing as frequently as I should have, you know. He came over and he put his hands on my face. And of course, being aware and the alert person that I am, I was thinking, what am I supposed to do with that? I don't know. Am I supposed to see something? Am I supposed to hear something? And within a few seconds, I had this wave of emotion. I started crying. It was like and I thought, oh my God, where did that come from? But he's such a powerful healer and a shaman in exercising all of that energy. I don't know where it came from. It just came. And for all intents and purposes, it really doesn't matter where it came from, just that it came and you're able to release that. So the entire weekend was geared towards going inward. In fact, this particular pranayama was, we were to hold the energy rather than expel it. Sometimes pranayama healing sessions can be very loud. And quite frankly, I'm really not a fan of that. That it scares me. I don't know what to do with it. And some of it seems a little kind of inauthentic for me. So we were uh, we were encouraged to hold in and sit with the emotion of what we had at that point in time. So while we're doing all of that, I'm laying on the floor and all I could see was this big ball. It was like the world was just sort of moving around very closely. And the pictures, it was like a tapestry, it was texture, it was beads, and then the colors would change. And it was kind of like, for lack of a better explanation, kind of like being on a drug. But which is, I know you and I talked about this a long time ago.
Right.
I've had opportunities to do plant medicine. In fact, one of my friends is a coach. I have no interest in that. And so that's why I opted to do the type of exercise with pranayama that you don't have to have a drug to do it. Your body will normally do that on your own. So that being said, it was such a powerful weekend, releasing stuff. And then working with a goddess like Samji, she was just incredible. And some of the exercises were not only prayer-based or singing, chanting kind of stuff, but like I said, yoga exercises and simple stuff. But she taught us how to, we did nothing but expand our auric field in one day. And the exercises of that alone were really incredible. And of
Mhm.
course, you're getting yourself in shape while you're doing all of that, and you're
Right.
pumping your heart, and your cardio is being exercised, and you stop it, and the whole world, the whole room buzzes with the energy, and you just sit in that and just absorb all of it. And therein lies, the healing. So that was part of my exercise this weekend. One of the other more powerful exercises, and which is really the key of what I wanted to talk about today, was being with yourself and showing up for yourself and being available. So he took us outside while Samji was doing some other exercises, and one by one talked to each one of us personally. And you don't really know if we're all given the same exercise or if it's something that you need
Right.
and it's specially for you. So one of the things I realized is oftentimes I'm not in my head. I'm out there somewhere. And
Mhm.
I've had, a teacher or two mention to me that I was out there way too much. In this particular exercise, we were to sit across from each other and look into each other's eyes and be available and talk. And so while he's doing this, I couldn't help it. And I realized that my organization in my head, oftentimes I am not able to continue a conversation fully without looking off, and I'm looking over his shoulder to find the words of and he kept saying, "Bring it back. I'm right here," one of those. And it
Mhm.
wasn't funny. It wasn't, but to actually look at someone in their eyes and deliver a message without veering your attention off to another direction to try to find something else. Your voice changes, your pitch changes, your
Mhm.
concentration changes. And some people were able to find actually find the place in their body where when they focus and they're available, where that lands. Now, for me, it's in my heart. Someone else, it was above in their chest. And so the chakra that is affected by where you pull that energy from or
Mhm.
your focal point really tells a bit of a story about who you are and where you are.
Right.
So feeling all of that was really, really something. And now you know whether or not you're available, not only to someone else, to listen, to fully, fully listen and absorb what they have to say, and really be available for yourself because it's all about you. It's really about your focus
Mhm.
on yourself.
Yep. I took some classes like that when I lived out west. And it was because I was a single mom, I couldn't do a retreat, right? So I couldn't go away for days. But I had a weekly class where I was doing a lot of that. I didn't remember the language because we discussed off camera that my remembrance of different languages can be a struggle for me. I don't know why, just multilingual doesn't somehow land in my brain. But what you're describing are the exercises we did in those classes, and
Mm.
it was powerful.
What I'm also learning is the different cultures have similar or the same things, and they're just called different things.
Yes.
So for me, when I do investigation on more knowledge, more exercise, more whatever, which is another thing I'll talk about in a minute, you tend to think that each culture is all by itself. There's no interaction with anything else, only to find out that the world as a whole is really the same across the board.
Yes.
We
Yeah.
just call it something different. We're
Yep.
all practicing love. We're all trying to practice self-care, and we're all trying to practice inner growth and
Hmm.
being with yourself.
Yes, absolutely.
So I know that, one of the shows we did too was The Inauthentic Handler.
Hmm.
Remember that? Yeah.
Yeah.
So oftentimes, ask yourself the question, am I being authentic? Am I really being available? Am I being here for me, not only for me, but when I'm talking with a friend, am I actually giving them all of my attention? Or are you just listening? Are you standing there with your actions of appearing that you're listening and looking over someone's shoulder, or trying to figure out how you're going to get the wash done or what you're going to make for dinner? And to keep that focus on your friend or whoever you're talking to, or even yourself. And that's the point of the Kriya, being focused on yourself all the time,
Right.
your behavior.
Absolutely. I know like you said, every tradition has their way of doing it. Um, I know with the Native American tradition, for me, learning to be with myself was going off by myself for a few days and sitting and not distracting myself. So,
Wow.
yeah. And I know that there are other cultures too that have like silent retreats and that sort of thing as well.
We did a day of silent retreat also, not this
Okay.
particular time, but another retreat that I've gone to with him, uh, where he was facilitating. It's
Mhm.
not hard. It's not
Mm.
hard to do that. People think that it's hard. And because someone else is talking and instructing you, you're really focused on your activities
Mhm.
and what you should be doing within your own body. And to experience some of that too, I think I mentioned to you when I was finished with that particular silent retreat, I hadn't eaten anything all day, which was another part of the retreat that
Mhm.
uh, we were to stay fasting all day long. Uh, when I tasted the apple from the store, I tasted every chemical in the peeling. It was the
Right,
most
you were saying
gross thing
that.
I've ever
Yeah.
eaten. It was terrible.
Yeah.
Uh, Sedona has some fabulous stuff. And the first time I went there, I actually I actually thought it was a nice town. I
Mhm.
knew that there were a lot of spiritual people, and I knew there were a lot of activities. But after a few days of being there, and I suppose that was in my frame of mind that I was in at the time, and the level of growth that I had already experienced, but I was really looking for the spiritual aspect of it, only to be a little disappointed in the focus. For many of them was really more business, and they were after your money rather than after helping you, kind of thing. So that the very first time it was very disappointing. The second time was winter, it snowed there, and that was a whole different experience, albeit educational on some length. But this time I actually fell in love with Sedona. That was really something. And the beauty of all of that, the rocks and the hiking trails and the greenery. We went to my friend that I went out there with. We went to it was called Oak Creek. You had to go all the way down a cliff in these rocks to get all the way down to the beach where the creek ran through. And the creek was nestled in between these giant stone formations and stuff.
Mhm.
And I think it was a bit of a trout pond, so you could see some of the fish and stuff, which tells me that it was pretty cold when trout are available in a yeah, it's and crayfish. The water's often not very warm in those places.
No.
So
They're usually spring fed too, which keeps them cold.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. I didn't swim. My friend went swimming and kind of slid off a rock a little bit, and she wanted to jump off a cliff at that point, because some of the kids were jumping off the cliff. And she said, "Boy, I'm kind of glad that I went in this way, because if I'd have jumped off the cliff, I probably would have had a heart attack because the water was so cold."
Cold. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, when you leap off a cliff like that, you're going to go down into the water pretty far
Right.
before you come back up, and you're going to test a few levels of water, and it just gets colder as you go deeper.
Absolutely.
So that
Sounds
was pretty
refreshing though. I mean, I've only been in Arizona one time. Not a fan of deserts, not a fan of a lot of sand. Like, I'm just not. Don't like
yeah,
it. Don't like the heat.
yeah.
Don't like the lack of water. Don't like any of it.
Oh, well, it was
But yeah, I didn't get
very,
to
very
see
warm.
that part of Sedona when I was there. All I saw was like the business district downtown
Mm,
with all the shops and stuff. And I was only
yeah.
there for a couple of hours passing
Uh,
through.
I learned too that there's, like any town, I'm sure,
Mm.
different sides of town. We were on the west side, and I think the very first time I was in the business district area, and I don't know which one that is, maybe the north side or something. Uh, I was incredibly disappointed, but this
Right.
time I was really enamored. And yeah, it was so hot. It was very, and Sedona is actually a little cooler than, say, the Phoenix area. When we
Mhm.
landed in Phoenix Thursday, it was 117 degrees.
That's insane.
Yeah, it
That's
very.
insane.
You
Yeah.
can barely even walk across the concrete without hurting your feet, and
Hmm.
the heat's going through your shoes and whatnot. Um, So anyway, back to the Sedona thing, back
Yeah.
to the retreat. Um, Samji created her own instrument of awareness. And
Okay.
of course, I tend to be the example of the group often. Um,
Well, you do volunteer for it.
I unknowingly, I really don't, but at least the good part about that is I'm not horribly alarmed about it.
Hmm.
And I did make the group laugh a few times because I was very honest about what I was saying. Uh, and I really, at that point in time, really didn't feel like being dug into, because once you ask the question, then of course, and part that they reminded me of was, that you commissioned us to help you go inward, right? So
Hmm.
inward means seeing all of your faults, forgiving yourself, all of the activities, and trying not to allow other things to go on, but releasing all of the stuff that you've been held up in your whole life. And
I would
oh,
also say that in going inward is better when it's balanced because it does allow you to see some good parts about you that you were not aware
mm,
of or
mhm.
that you have kind of set aside and went, well, that doesn't matter. I mean, that's easy. It doesn't matter. But just because it's easy for you doesn't mean it's easy for everyone. And so be able to see that going inward needs to be balanced, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. So
Well, yeah, I realized
yeah.
too that I often have my guard up about how far that I will allow to be dug into.
Mm-hmm.
But it was very innocent. It was very helpful. It was very clean, and it was authentic, and it was caring and loving in the manner in which it was done.
Yeah.
Um, but we often get in our head. And so when she created this three-tiered instrument, it's the wheel that spins, and all of those emotions that you experience daily that come up minute by minute,
Mm-hmm.
you're in your head, and you're spinning around trying to find an answer and getting deeper and deeper and spinning and spinning and spinning. And there you go down the rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to move up in your emotions and release some of that and get into the part where you are self-aware, there's different emotions that come up there as well.
Right.
And the awareness of all of that. And then you get to the top tier of just being conscious, just in your own consciousness and not caring. So, people get caught up in their own stuff every day.
We
And
all
there
do it.
comes,
Yeah.
yep, yep. It's part, and we all have those emotions. We all have crap that has been built up, and we all have sins that we're trying to release and trying to forgive ourselves. And I think the forgiveness is the big piece, if you
Mm-hmm.
can forgive yourself. But if you're focused on being self-aware and really in your heart and doing things with love, that other stuff tends not to happen, which
Right.
is the amazing part about all of that. If we were to focus on where we need to focus, we wouldn't be so superficial
Mm-hmm.
and inauthentic. So that being said,
Yeah.
it was quite enlightening.
Awesome. I'm really glad that you had that experience. It sounds
You never
wonderful.
know what you're going to get when you go to those things.
Nope.
And it's somewhat of a miracle of God, of whatever it is that you come away with.
Mm-hmm.
I am
Right.
way different than I was when I left, and way more self-aware.
And way more calm. Your voice is calmer.
Well, that was one of the things he reminded me of, when you are being aware of
Hmm.
yourself and looking into that other person's eyes and focusing on what you want to deliver. your voice does change and
Hmm.
you are more calm because you're centered on yourself.
Right.
So then he told me we had to go outside and we had to work with our other peers that were, and it was said, I don't like this self-awareness stuff. I'm not happy with this being in my own stuff. And now I have to deliver. And it's pretty interesting.
It is.
You want to veer off topic and you want to go out there and say stuff. And then you become the, um, the misunderstood child and you keep talking and talking and talking rather
Mm.
than focusing on what you need to say.
Right.
It was such an incredible weekend. Um, Trying to think of another message that we experience them daily and by minute, and they were such gracious guests. We had vegetarian meals every day, and from a local, very reputable source.
Hmm.
Fresh juices, things for your stomach, things for energy, and just to keep ourselves clean so that we could dive deep into ourselves. So as we were leaving, they not only gave us the mala beans, but they actually gave us a rose from a rose that had been in a vase all day and all weekend, and each one of us got a rose with all of that energy on it.
With all that energy in it. Yeah.
Yep. And we were able to bring crystals and put it on the altar, so our crystals
Hmm.
absorbed all of that, and they do feel different.
That's excellent.
Yeah, sitting in that energy, it's just something that you just want to stay in.
Right.
I also realized how much of a goddess I am rather than avoiding all of that and noticing my own beauty and my own skills and my own knowledge and my own
Mhm.
abilities, which is something that, when you're at home and you're with your loved ones, you tend to get wrapped up in spinning the wheel and trying to stay focused, or you oftentimes want to defend yourself because, it's kind of a battlefield. Let's face it, it's a little bit of a battlefield where you live.
It can
Uh,
be.
yeah. Uh, and also watching the two of them interact was really uh, enlightening. It was cute. They are an incredible couple. They both complement each other. Um, and of course, when it was over, I said, "Oh my God, I can't believe it's over. We've waited so long for this." And let's be clear, sitting in that energy from 9 to 5, back to back to back to back, and not having a ton of, if we had a break, it was a little bit structured. We were not to be talking amongst ourselves and losing that center point of where we had gone.
Right.
Um, and what interaction we had, was authentic. So that takes a bit of focus, but uh, it was an incredible experience. And of course, my next question to him was, so when's the next one? Can we
Yeah.
do this in winter? Can we do this when it's not so hot?
I'd be okay with snow in Sedona.
I've been there when it snowed. It was really an interesting, the because of the humidity there,
Hmm.
albeit, the snow that falls there is the type that you want to make a snowman out of because it
Well,
packs.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was certainly not cold like it is here,
Hmm.
with the wind and dry air and stuff. I really enjoyed it. And the view on the mountains and on the trees from that particular snowfall was so beautiful. It's something that you'd have to experience yourself.
Right. Yeah. It's you talk about authenticity, and I think I've gotten to a point where I forgot how not to be.
I think you do a pretty incredible job. I don't
You know,
know that.
but the more that you practice something, the more it becomes a part of you.
Yes,
And so, yeah, I think after that last time when I got really, really sick, and I just went, if it doesn't bring me joy, I'm not doing it. And joy is kind of a base for authenticity. So I feel like, there are things that we learn from everything that we go through in our lives. And boy, I would have much rather gotten it through a retreat like that.
Right. The school of hard knocks is
Yeah,
really not nice sometimes.
no,
That's why they call them hard knocks.
yeah, exactly. But I am so glad that you had that wonderful experience, and I'm so happy for you because you were just glowing.
Thank you. It's funny that you say that because we came out of our, pranayama or whatever, and they
Mhm.
both said, "Oh my God, look at you. You're glowing. You look like you're so much younger than you were. You must have let go of a lot of stuff." I think everyone was glowing. It just,
Yeah.
I don't know. It was so profound of an experience that and it was in a safe container. You felt
Mhm.
like you were very cared for. You could trust them and to really go deeper within yourself because oftentimes the reason that we're not doing that is because we're afraid of what other people are going to think.
Right.
And so in response to what you were saying in terms of
Mhm.
you are authentic. I don't know that, Christine, I don't know that I've ever seen you into authentic,
Well, thank
ever.
you. That is quite
Yeah.
a compliment. Thank you.
Well, when you're doing the work that you love
Mhm.
and you are doing it on your own terms, you can be authentic easier than you
Absolutely.
can when you're faced with a lot of people. The corporate world is not nice,
No.
and there's judgment every minute of the day. And when you're in a place that you don't fit in well, you tend to be inauthentic because you're trying to fit in, only
Mhm.
to realize that it doesn't work well and you're really
Right.
unhappy.
Been there, done that, so I know exactly what you're saying.
Speaking from experience,
Yes,
yes,
yeah, exactly. But I think it is so freeing just to be able to be yourself,
very
just to
much
be
so.
able to be who you are in every moment and understand that that isn't the same person moment to moment,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know?
It can
I
change
was
you
I was
like
on a
that.
different podcast earlier today, and we were talking about that, but about how being ourselves, being who we are, isn't always the same thing, because there are days when we're right on target, we're accomplishing stuff, and then there are other days when we have the flu, and both of those people are authentic.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, it's really interesting to me that I think that there has been a misconception about authentic always being like, I am always this person, consistently this person all the time. And that's just not what it is.
Right.
Authenticity is moving with the flow of life, it's moving with the flow of your life,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I
Sometimes you're loud, sometimes you're soft, sometimes you have the flu,
yeah,
sometimes, yeah.
you know,
uh,
I mean, on the days when I want to hide at home and turn my phone off, I'm just as authentic as the days when I'm out there with a crowd of people doing my thing.
mhm.
Both are authentic. And the
It's
same
it.
with you.
We do have different personalities. That's what
We
they
do.
they say. You have about, I don't know, 4 or 5 different ones, but
At
it's
least.
shifting your energy so that you
Mhm.
can deal with certain things. How do you behave in business situations? How do you behave in spiritual situations? And how do you behave when you're with your friends who you trust
Mhm.
to be your friend and to tell you the things that not everyone will tell you and still
Exactly.
be your friend?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, it is very interesting watching the ebb and flow of life,
Yeah,
of your own life, as you're moving through. You're not just learning things, you're experiencing things. And I
right.
think that is the difference. Because you can read about the pranayama, you can read about how that all works. You can read about or watch videos on yoga, but once you've gone through it and you've experienced it, that's the game changer. It's really about the experience.
Well, you can read about swimming all you want, but you certainly aren't going to learn how to do it well unless you're in the water.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and learn how to tread so that you don't drown.
Mhm.
And that's the same as life. Uh,
Yeah. All kinds of
so,
analogies.
right. You certainly can't drive a race car either unless you by reading a book.
Mm-hmm. Or any car by reading a book.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of that, we had a rental car that we named, we shouldn't even have said that, but what my friend named the car because she was constantly bitching about putting your seatbelt on. It was really, I mean, we'd just barely get in the car and start it up, and it was, oh, she
Ding,
was
ding, ding,
obnoxious.
ding, ding. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. My husband's car does that.
Ugh. There's a way to disable that, just so you know. Not
Yeah.
that I know what that is, or I
Uh-huh.
could give instruction, but I heard you could Google it and you can find that out. You can find anything out on Google, right?
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. Google is an
Except
amazing.
how to be you. That you can't. And you can Google it because there's probably a gazillion books about it, but
Mhm, mhm.
you can't really accomplish that without actually doing the work, which is interesting. And doing the work is not work. You know what I mean? It's experience, but it's not like going to a job. It's not like, doing all that kind of stuff, but it is inner work. And that inner work is really what brings us to where we all really want to be, I think, whether we know it or not.
Yeah, I have a theory on this. I'm
Hmm.
watching a few people go through some stuff, and uh, when we, I've come to the conclusion that when we are not happy with ourselves, hypothetically, or where we feel we don't fit in, or
Hmm.
we feel like we have to behave a different way than we want to behave, we tend or realize your gifts. We tend to veer off and do other things and stuff it down to the point that now you're having different reactions to things. And now you're looking for outside influences to
Hmm.
influence your inside. And you're never going to find peace that way.
Right. Peace cannot live outside of ourselves. It has to be
Correct.
inside first. And then once we have it inside, we can share it outside, but you can't get it from the outside.
Right. Your behavior speaks loudly
Hmm.
often. And when they say that children are acting out, unfortunately, there's no book for how to raise kids. It's the saddest thing ever, and why they do the things they do. And I wish they would prepare us more about how to be a good parent and how to raise children than
There are lots of books out on that
now. Now there
now.
is, yeah,
Not when we were raising kids, but
right,
now.
exactly.
Yeah.
Hmm. That brought me to another point here, and I lost it in my head.
Well, what I was noticing is that we both picked up our cups at the same time.
Well, it's not like we don't know each other at all.
Right, exactly. And speaking of cups, if you want one, where's my camera? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
If you want one, let us know because we have some for sale.
We do.
We'll
Hey,
ship it
being
to you.
in Sedona, of course, I'm always looking for stuff. And I usually, when I travel, I come home with a different coffee cup.
Hmm.
I did find cups. I was startled. I'm not going to lie. I really thought that the price that we have, outside of the fact that it's custom, so it's going to
Hmm.
cost a little more. Uh, I found some cups out in Sedona that cost as much, if not more,
Oh
than
yeah,
that. But for the most part, in Sedona too, if you shop around enough, you'll find things that are bargains. And
right.
I found, so we're walking around, in this area that has a village of stores. And
Hmm.
there's a henna store and this store and that store and the Tibetan store. And of course, everybody out there is interested in crystals and
Hmm.
they are exorbitantly expensive. And
Yes,
so
they
I
are.
saw, I saw a store that said, discount gems and crystals. And I said, let's go there. And she said, they all say that. They all say that they're discounted and you're going to have cheap. But I found this up
Ooh,
there.
pretty.
Isn't that something?
That's a gorgeous amethyst.
Yes. And this was $13.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So there are things that are on sale out there. I also found a dress that was incredibly beautiful,
Nice.
soft, goddess like. And I got a 25% discount on it as well. So there are stores out there that you can get things at. So
Right.
I'm all about sales.
Yeah.
Uh,
I
what were
would
you going to
almost
say?
think that this is kind of almost their off season because it's so hot out there.
Yeah, it's classified as monsoon season, and it did rain out there. Our first night, we were looking for a place to eat. And when it rains, it really rains. It was
Uh-huh.
pretty big, and we were sailing down the road a little bit, almost sailing, seriously.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, this is monsoon season.
Yeah.
But it's a cool rain. You don't
Yeah.
have to worry about getting cold or any of that. Uh, and it dries up quickly. But it did rain 2 or 3 times when we were out there. So I was a
Wow.
little surprised about that.
Yeah.
Happily surprised.
That's nice.
One of the mornings, let's see, Monday morning, we each had a private session with Marcus. And my friend's session was at 7 a.m. and mine was at 9. And so because she had the car, I had to walk over to his house. It wasn't a bad walk. But interestingly, when we got out of bed, the temperature was 65 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
When I left for his house, it was 70. And by the time I got there, I walked 7/10 of a mile. By the time I got to his house, it had already gone up 2 or 3 degrees in that
Wow.
short period of time. It's
Yeah.
pretty hot.
Yep.
So my only disappointment was that I didn't see any javelinas. I really wanted to see that. You know what a javelina is, right?
I do not.
You remember did you see The Lion King?
Years ago.
The pig that had the tusks
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
and the kind of big snouty nose.
That's
That's
a
kind
javelina.
of like a javelina.
Oh,
It's
okay.
sort of it's a pig of sorts, and
Kind of a
they're
wild boar sort of thing.
kind of like that. They are only in 3 states. They're in Texas and Arizona. I want to say California. So they hang around in packs.
Mm-hmm.
They're very destructive. And they come into your yard and dig everything up because they're looking for food.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I wanted to see one. But, of course, in my learning ability here, people I've had people say to me before, Bobbi, look with your eyes. Don't touch. Just
Yeah.
look with your eyes, not with your hands.
Yeah.
But I really would have liked to seen that. But there were a couple of deer in the backyard,
Mm-hmm.
and he's tells us that he's going to hold these retreats maybe 3 or 4 times a year. So I'm looking forward to the next one.
Nice.
It was pretty incredible.
Yep. I can see it in your eyes.
Yeah, release your inner self. Be
Yeah.
yourself.
Be yourself.
That was the message the entire time. And
Well,
to
it doesn't make
stand in your
sense
own
to be
power.
somebody else.
Well, I know, but we
Yeah.
we do tend to try that
Yeah.
periodically,
Or
either
try
to
to
see.
fit in, be like other people. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Uh, We try on different hats and different faces and put on different
Mhm.
masks all the time.
Yeah. I know it's somebody was trying to compare me to someone else who's in a similar business to me, and I'm like, there's no comparison. We're both different. We do it differently. We have different experiences. We have different energy. There's no competition. People will go to where they feel comfortable. And that's really where the bottom line is. And a lot of people, oh no, I use logic to make all my decisions. No, you don't. Humans are
No,
not
you don't.
logical. Humans are not intrinsically logical, beings.
Right.
We're just not. We are emotional beings. And so even when we think we're making logical decisions, we're pretty much not making logical decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seemed logical at the time, but in reality, it wasn't at all. So,
Yeah.
uh, when we came home the other night, we took a late flight out, and the plane was full, and it was one of those flights that had a lot of children on it,
Mm,
little children,
yes.
and we didn't get back into Milwaukee until after midnight. After midnight, um, and so the plane left, and there was a baby, probably he was. He was smart enough and young enough to know how to manipulate his parents. If he screamed loud enough, they would do anything.
Yes.
And that was pretty much it. It was one of those tantrum screams. And all I could think of, and when he started having his fit several times, the other kids on the plane started lighting up
Oh yeah.
also. Oh
Oh
my
yeah.
God.
I
And
mean,
I all
I hate to be rude, but it's compared to the neighborhood dogs. One starts, the rest join in.
Yeah, I don't know what this is about, but darn it all, I'm not gonna get left out.
Not gonna
We're
miss it.
yeah, yeah.
Make my
Keep
voice heard.
going. Just It's and all I could think of was, "Oh my god, this is gonna be one of those flights that you see on TV." It's, somebody's
Lose it.
gonna get angry and yeah, it was quite interesting. Eventually it settled down and towards the middle of the flight, then everybody was quiet and it had gotten dark out.
Mhm.
We ran into about 3 different storms on the way here. So that was interesting also, and it could have been way much worse than it was.
Yes.
Uh, eh, I love being in a plane, watching that kind of stuff, and off in the distance, the clouds lighting up and popping with all of
Mhm.
the electricity from the lightning.
Yeah,
And
that's really cool, isn't it?
it, yeah, it was like watching the pinball machine, bing, 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 bouncing from one cloud to another. So that's my story. That's all I have today, other than, it's good to be home.
Yeah.
It's humid here. It's hot here, just like it was there. It's a
Well,
different kind of hot. That's it. It's a different kind of hot. I don't care what it is. It's hot. Hot is hot.
exactly. It's hot.
Yeah.
I am very grateful for air conditioning.
Oh, yes. And
Very, very,
pools.
and pools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So next week, speaking of pools, you're actually going to be at the lake, right?
I am. Yeah.
Yeah.
We,
Is that, you said it's in Presque Isle.
yes.
What's the lake there? Do you know?
We're going to Lynch Lake, I believe it is.
Okay.
Lynx Lake.
Lynx Lake.
Lynx Resort.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes more sense. All right.
This is a first time visit for us, so we really
Okay.
don't know. I mean, it looks similar to a place that we used to go, and we'd love to go
Mhm.
back there, but they're not operational anymore. And so finding another place for the family to go has been
Mhm.
a bit arduous, but we hope we found it. Whole
Yeah.
thing is, there's water and you can fish, and whether you catch something or not is another thing.
Mhm.
But it should be fun. It's a family excursion, and now we have baby Riker and
Mhm.
being a grandma, and so I suspect that I'll be grandma-ing while other people are out fishing, and that's
And
just fine with me.
yep.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yep. I'll sit here and rock the baby. You go fishing. I'm good.
Yeah, right. Riker and I'll listen to the birds. We're good.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, baby Riker. He's such a little peanut, and we had fireworks last night. Rob puts on quite a display, and it
Mhm.
was very close to the quality of and maybe better than some of the smaller towns.
Nice.
And so she had a little infant headset for him so that it didn't hurt his ears. He slept through the entire thing,
Mhm.
just never budged. And of
Yep.
course, everybody wanting to hold him. So the kid was passed out the entire time. I have a theory about that. I think that they get, so much stimulation. They're like, I'm not doing this. I'm just going to disappear. And they go to
Yep.
sleep.
And then they go to sleep. Yep.
Yeah. Wow. And to be
Yeah.
that age again, to be able to do that and avoid too much
Right.
stimulation.
Well, we normally have Lucian on Thursday nights, but they're going to the fireworks, so he's going to be going with his mom and her family to the fireworks because neither one of us want to go. We both kind of have PTSD when it comes to that loud exploding noise stuff. So,
Mm,
I will probably have my headset on watching a movie from my computer screen here just to kind of block out the
mhm.
noise.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I don't know. It looks like it's gonna rain, so
yeah, who knows? It
we're
does
all
look like
good.
it's going to rain as I turn and look out the window.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what they say. I think somewhere around 3. I love the weather app on my phone because it tells you exactly when it's gonna do things. It's going to rain in 3 hours and 14 minutes.
Yes.
Not 15 or 10, but 14.
Yep.
Usually it's pretty accurate.
Yep.
So that's
Absolutely, it is. This has been, thank you for sharing your experience.
Oh, you're very
Really.
welcome. I'm just so touched and so taken. And, coming home and just being in that energy still, trying to maintain that and stay in my heart and talking to my family members, staying there, not veering off and being within myself. And I would encourage everyone to do that. And
Yeah.
when you're talking to your family members, look at them, look into their eyes while you're talking.
Yes.
And one of the
Absolutely.
hardest things is to keep that concentration and to be authentic. Where am I? What am I being? And how do I deliver this message with love every single time.
Yep. That can be a challenge sometimes, especially when
Oh,
they're really close to you and you just want to go, get your life together.
yes, there is that. I mean, that's not the life I meant. Not like that.
Not like that. Do it my way. But then that's
Yeah,
not allowing them to be their authentic selves either,
I
and we
know.
all come here with things that we need to experience. And sometimes, especially as a parent of adults, it is hard to remember that.
Yeah, allowing them to walk their own path and
Well, we can't stop
knowing.
them from walking their own path, whether we allow it or not.
Right, right. Well,
Piece with that is huge.
one of the things that my personality archetype is, the controlling parent, because that's how I grew up. And we
Hmm.
all get those things from our patterning from how we grew up.
Yeah.
So, and if you control things, then they'll always be the way that you want them, hopefully. Although people around you may not be happy, but you're trying hard just
How
to
come
keep it
they're
under
not
wraps.
accepting my love?
Right. If it were love, you
If
would
it were
behave
love, they'd be accepting it.
probably. Yeah. Who knew?
Oh my gosh, what an amazing
Ah,
epiphany that is.
look at us. We're growing so much on this show. That only took 66 years, but I got
Right?
it. Right.
Well,
Oh,
I just want to say that I have something to be very grateful for these days. While you were away on your retreat, I celebrated 39 years of sobriety.
oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.
Oh, big kudos.
It was those first 20 years were the hardest.
The rest of it's all downhill. Love it.
Well, after a while it does become a lifestyle, but there's I'm especially grateful that I got through the last year and a half
Oh, yes.
without picking up,
Yeah.
without picking up anything.
Do
You know.
you sometimes feel like you might wanna, or I mean, I don't.
I think after it's not so much like I feel like I want to get high, um, especially when Logan left the planet. It was more like I don't want to feel. I don't know if my body can contain this intensity.
Oh,
You
yes.
know what I mean? And
Yes.
wanting to not feel as opposed to wanting to feel something else, just wanting to not feel. But I am grateful that I had a lot of support and got through that. And
We talked a lot about that, about sitting with your emotions, and
mhm,
sometimes it's not fun often.
mhm,
What we also learned, and I've learned this in a different strategy as well. When you feel those emotions and you sit with them, they change.
they
They
do.
tend to change and they dissipate a lot more than you think they would.
Hmm.
And at least if you recognize the emotion and try to identify where it is in your body,
Hmm.
that focus in and of itself also will change it.
Right.
So,
I have to say, this is the first time that I have felt grief where I felt it in every cell of my body.
yes, I share your pain. Yeah.
Yeah.
I When my sister passed away, who was like my best friend and my
Yeah.
sister and my mother all in
Yeah.
one, when she passed away, I remember
Hmm.
praying. I was bargaining with the Lord. I would have done anything to bring her back.
Yeah.
And so feeling that on every level of your cell is hard.
Yeah.
And when you're not so aware, so self-aware, and all you feel is that pain rather than trying to figure out where it is, it's
Right.
everywhere. And that emotion in and of
Mhm.
itself is so painful that you don't want to feel it.
Right.
And to get
But
over that is hard.
I am grateful that I did so much inner work prior to that happening,
Yeah.
because I can't even imagine how much more difficult it would be had I not done the inner work.
Yes.
You know,
A lot of people blame themselves for things, and that's not it at all.
no. And again, we all have our own path, right? So our kids don't
Yes.
always choose the path we would choose for them.
Right. And you can't tell them what to do.
No. Well, you can. It's just not
You,
going to get you very far.
right. You could try.
You can
Yeah.
try. You can
Good luck
try.
with that. Yeah.
But I am grateful that with my remaining child that when he was young, we created a strong bond and a trusting bond. And
Mm.
so that now he does come and talk to me, or they
That's
come and talk to me,
fabulous.
or she comes and talks to me, or whatever the case might be at the moment.
Yeah.
But I've never shut that door. I've never said, you can't be that way. I've never tried to control um, who they are. I mean, some behaviors had to be controlled. Yes, you have to go to school because I'm not going to jail because you're skipping school. It's that simple. So get your butt up. We're going to school.
Put your shoes on.
Put your shoes on. We're going to
Yep.
school. But it is, I am forever grateful that I took the opportunities that I had to do the inner work, because it would have been a whole lot harder had I not.
I agree.
Yeah.
And kudos to you. Wow. That's what
Thank you.
happens when you do inner work.
Yeah.
You can at least sustain yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Some days.
It's
And
not, let's be clear, it's not easy every day.
no, no, it isn't. Some days are horribly hard, and some days you just sort of seem to breeze through. And I just like, time is warping so fast. I can't believe we're in July already.
Yes.
It just blows my mind. Yeah.
Yeah. When our family vacation comes up, it's the summer for us, it's half over and you get back from vacation. It's like, okay, when everything is summer's over now, you have to get on with life,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Yeah.
I don't know about you, but it took like 3 years after my youngest one was out of high school before I got out of the school year mentality.
Right. I think I'm still in it sometimes.
Like, that school year cycle, where you're in the cycle and just trying to, like, thinking to myself, oh, I have to go get these things. No, I don't. I don't,
Right.
I don't have to buy clothes because it's August. You know?
Oh my God, those pencils are on sale. I better get over there before they're
I know,
gone.
right? I found 3 boxes of pencils when we moved. Not even sharpened pencils, just pencils.
See?
Brand
Look
new
at you.
pencils. Oh, well.
Oh, they're antiques now, just so you know.
Yeah, I know. People don't even, I use them, but I don't know if anybody else does.
Yeah.
Um, wow, this has been a great conversation. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for taking the time. And again, this is what Breakfast with Bobby is all about,
It
sharing
is.
ideas and talking about what's going on our inner selves.
And
And
experiences. Yeah,
mhm, yeah, well,
absolutely. So do you want to
so
remind our listeners?
yes. So next week I'm on vacation, so we're going to be on the air Monday. Uh, and then you're on vacation, so we're going to miss a week, correct?
Right, right. We will not be broadcasting a new show on the 15th. I would think it's
Correct.
wait, let me just double check my calendar here, make
And
sure I
it
got the
is.
right
It's
day.
Monday the 15th. That
Okay.
Monday we will not have a show.
There will
Uh,
not be a show on the 15th, but we will be back on the
the
26th.
26th. Yep.
Yeah.
So that being said, thank you all so much for coming today and listening to what we have to say and enjoying um, the heat of the moment. And if you have anything you want us to say or you want to say something, give us a shout out and we'll take a listen to it and either have you on the show. And if you'd like a coffee cup, let us know. We have a few.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
take care of yourselves. Be good to yourselves, and love your families.
Yeah.
Life is just going too fast. And
And yeah, love your families, whether they are your birth families, your chosen families, your adopted families, your community families, whatever it
yes,
is.
yeah,
Yeah.
your tribe.
Mhm.
Be an active part of your tribe.
Yeah. And remember to like, subscribe, and ring the bell.
We
And
love you all.
share.
And share.
Yeah.
Share
Share,
lots.
share, share.
Yeah.
All right. Love you all. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.